Welcoming guys to your NFL Week 2 recap, and this was the the week that is the most important week for the NFL, especially if you need to get your points on the board and see who's going to be in that playoff picture come end of the season when it's time for the playoffs. Because in week 1 they're like, oh, they overreact, a lot of overreaction in week 1, but week 2 is the most important week of the NFL. So we start off with Thursday night's game, the Giants versus Washington. This was a good game, ended 29-40 to Washington. Jones got a touchdown for the Giants in the first, which was 7-0 to the Giants. Then Washington got a touchdown in the first as well. Jonathan Allen got a touchdown, and that was 7-7. Going into the second, we had a field goal to make it 10-7, 13-14 still in the second, and then a touchdown. Then we had 20-14 in the third. Then in the fourth, it was 26-22. We had a field goal, which was 29-22, and then the final score, which went into overtime, was 29-40. With a field goal. Also went into overtime, field goal, and Washington got the win. Going on to the Sunday games. So, Sunday games, we had Dak Prescott and the Cowboys against the Chargers. Cowboys in the first, they get a 1st and 10. Then Pollard gets a touchdown for Cowboys, which makes it 7-0 at the first. Then the Chargers get an interception in the first. 7-3 for a field goal from Dak Prescott. Elliott with a first touchdown in the first. Mike Williams makes it 14-7 to the Cowboys. Going into the second, we have 14-11. And then we have 1st and down in the third, 14-14 in the third. We have a field goal and a touchdown from Herbert. Herbert has a touchdown, and the Cowboys win that game. Then we have the other game, which is the Raiders versus the Steelers. Now, in the last week, the Steelers beat the Bills, Trubisky's Bills. This week it was against the Raiders, which ended 26-17. 21-31. No, that's the wrong one. 26-17. To the Raiders. We had Allen Howell gets the first touchdown in the fourth. Then the Raiders gets a field goal. They get a field goal held up for a flag. Then we go to 6-0 in the first, a touchdown, and then Daniel Carson gets a field goal. The end was 26-7. Good result for the Raiders. Then we had the Texans versus the Browns. We have a loose ball in this game. Texans get an interception in the second. It goes to 21-24. Brandon makes it 21-31. And that game ended 21-31. Well, yeah, 31. Yeah. Then we go into the game from last night, Monday Night Football. Lions versus Packers. The Lions started off really well in this game. They got the first touchdown in the first, making it 7-0. Then Aaron Jones made 4 touchdowns in this game, which was really good, and he had a really good game last night. We go to 7-14, and then after that, really, it was the Packers. It was all the Packers for the rest of the game, and it's 17-40 to the Packers. Just annihilated and destroyed the Lions. But that was a good game. Oh, then we had the Pats versus the Jets. The Patriots versus the Jets. Nick Foles gets his third goal in the first. Second goal in the second. It goes to 3-0 in the first. 3-3 in the second for the Jets. 10-3 in the second. We have a Pats interception. It goes 13-3 in the third. A touchdown in the third. A field goal for 22-3. 25-6 in the fourth. And Wilson gets a 10th in the third as well. Zach Wilson of the Jets. Then we have the 49ers versus the Eagles. The next game, the Eagles started in the first with 0-3. Then it was 14. Then it was 7-7 in the third. Then it was 17-11, and then the final score was 17. Yeah, 17-11. Just then we had the Bills versus the Dolphins. This game ended 21-0. Just basically destroyed the Dolphins. The Dolphins were bad in this game. Then we had the Saints versus the Panthers. Jameis Winston's Saints versus the Panthers. DJ Moore did a touchdown in the second, making it 0-7 in the first, and then it was 0-17 in the second. Then it was 7-26. James Winston got a touchdown to make it 7-17. Then the Eagles came back to make it 26-7. They won that, so they got to win that this week. The Rams versus the Colts. Matthew Stafford's Colts. Matthew Stafford's Rams versus Colts. You had a 7-1 in the first, a touchdown by Cook in the first for the Rams, interception by Wilson by the Colts in the second. It was 10-3. Then we had a couple field goals, and then Rams won their game. Then we go to the Titans versus Seahawks game. We have a 31-yard field goal, and it's 0-3 for the Seahawks. Then it goes to 3-3 in the first for a field goal. Hugh Jones gets a touchdown in the second. Then 6-3 in the second. Carson gets 6-10 and the touchdown in the third, and that game ended 6-17 for the Seahawks. Then the Vikings versus the Cardinals. That game, we start off with 7-7 with Hopkins makes it 7-7. Then 14-7 in the first to the Vikings. Jefferson makes it 20-7 in the first. Then a touchdown in the second, a 20-14 again. The Cardinals go to 14. Interception, and the Vikings interception. The Broncos versus the Jags. That game was the Jags won that game. And then we had the Buccaneers versus the Falcons, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, which I think, in my opinion, is the best defense they have. They have the best defense. This game was like 41-7, I think it was. But Tom Brady did some good passes. You had a couple of field goals, 10-21 in the third, 7-21 in the second. You had Gronkowski do 2 touchdowns in this game. He had a good game. Brady had a good game. The Buccaneers still looking strong. I know that people say, oh, well, week 1 they had, the Cowboys. That's a big test. They had Dak Prescott's Cowboys. And that was a Dak Prescott who wasn't even fully ready to come back. And they won that game. Then we have the Chiefs versus the Ravens. We have Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. Can Lamar Jackson? The question was in this game: Could Lamar Jackson beat Patrick Mahomes? Could this Ravens team finally get a win over the Chiefs? And I think that this was one of my favorite games of the weekend. I really enjoyed this game. This is a good confidence boost for the Ravens if they want to get to the playoffs and actually be contenders this year. It's great that they beat a Super Bowl team and who's been there before, like the Chiefs. We start off with a touchdown from Darren Robinson in the first. Then we have a second touchdown in the second for the Ravens, and a 14-14 in the second. Second and 10 in the third, and a 21-17. And then a 35-24 in the third, and 35-36. It was a close game in the fourth, 35-36 to end the game. And Lamar Jackson got a touchdown. Then we have the last game of the weekend. The Chicago Bears, against the Bengals. The Bengals versus the Bears. 7-4. It was a really kind of a game for the Bears. Like, they was winning like 7-0 through like the third, and then Andy Dalton does his really he breaks, he injures his knee. Like, this was kind of something like from the Psycho Sid. Kind of, if you're a wrestling fan, when Psycho Sid broke his leg, and he's like, oh my god, because he had to go to the top rope. And he couldn't come out for the second, and then we had Justin Fields come out. And as soon as Justin Fields came on the field, he looked like the team, and the whole team was energized. And it's just such a difference that when you have a young QB in Justin Fields, and he's going to make some errors. And the commentators like, oh my god, well, he's making errors because whatever. Well, he wouldn't have made those errors if he was actually the first quarterback in preseason, and if he started the first game against the Rams. And it's a big adjustment from college football to actually the NFL. It's a huge difference. So all these commentators, you say, oh, well, he fumbled a couple of balls, he had a couple of flags. Of course he's nervous because he's still young. He's like 20, 21. But he's going to learn, but he needs to be the starting QB. Nothing else matters this season apart from Justin Fields. Justin Fields has to be that dude for Chicago, because for years and years and decades, the Bears have never had a good QB. And now that maybe Andy Dalton's injured, maybe this is finally, Matt Nagy is going to finally have some brains and balls and give Justin Fields game time. But the Bears win that 20-17. Joe Burrow did some really bad passes in the game. It was dumb. It wasn't good for the Burrows. It was like Joe Burrows wasn't good in the game. Andy Dalton injured his leg. It's like two general managers, two coaches that really should be fired. And that's how it was for this game. But leave you guys' thoughts on this week 2 of the NFL week 2 recap. Leave your thoughts in the comments, guys, and peace.